All right, welcome back. Time to check in with Jean-François Lisée, who now, of course, can be heard here Mondays and Wednesdays afternoon after 5 o'clock. Our feature brought to you by Guaranteed Industries. A reminder, Guaranteed Industries keeps you cool in the summer and warm in the winter. So if you're thinking of making that changeover, now's a good time to call. 514-342-3400 or online, guaranteedindustries.com. Monsieur Lisée, I thought we'd start off with this reaction to the provincial government's decision to appeal Bill 40, the ruling, of course, that allows English school boards to maintain their governance of their own boards. When the ruling came out, I think a lot of people went out of their way to suggest that Justice Lisée, who wrote the decision, pretty much covered every point that needed to be covered. And I think a lot of us thought, well, no, the decision seems pretty clear. There's no need for the government, of course, to appeal. And then we found out from François Legault just a couple of days ago that the government would appeal. Then Eric Duhem, the provincial Conservative leader, came out and said this. I want you to hear this clip, and then you can react to this.
It's like, we're going to give you explanation if you deserve some later on the road.
Yeah.
And so now they're appealing the decision. They know they're going to lose. We know they're going to lose. They know that we know they're going to lose, but they're still appealing. And that makes zero sense. Why are they doing that?
Okay, that's the clip. I'm interested in your reaction to this whole sort of fiasco, this issue.
Well, he's asking a good question because clearly the superior courts have been very much inclined to expand minority rights in terms of education rather than the other way around. I mean, they've been moving the goalposts for Francophones outside Quebec for decades. And so there's no reason that the courts will not interpret the Constitution in the same way for Anglo-Quebecers. Now, we don't know what we don't know because the only thing Premier Legault said is that I understand that we're appealing. So someone told him without briefing him in detail, and we're waiting for the Justice Department to tell us why exactly they're appealing. Of course, in terms of the principle, they thought they were right in framing Bill 40. I disagreed with them at the time. You know, I'm very forceful on defending the French language, but also very forceful in respecting what I call a distinct society within Quebec, which is the Anglo minority and its institutions. And I just think you shouldn't toy with the institutions of a minority. It's true for the Quebec Francophone as a minority in North America, and it's true for the Anglo minority. So I'm pretty stand-up guy on that, pretty consistent. And so now that the court told them that they went overboard and under their constitutional obligation to respect, the ability of the community to self-govern its education, I don't know exactly why they're trying to get beaten up in appeal and then at the Supreme Court. We're waiting for their explanation, but frankly, it doesn't look good.
Yeah, and those explanations, I mean, that's what I try to imagine what it could possibly be that you couldn't present immediately. And it all just ends up making it look like we're the scapegoat. They're just trying to create more friction where there doesn't need to be friction. What do you think those reasons could possibly be, Monsieur Lisée?
Well, it's probably, the government of Quebec are the fiduciary of the rights of the National Assembly, and they're very... they will go all the way. And then it's up to the politicians to make the political decision. Now, there's a mistake in communications on the part of the Premier that should have said, we're going to come up with a decision on whether to appeal or not in the next few days, and we will explain this decision. Okay? That's what he should have said. Now, he didn't say that, which puts us in limbo in trying to understand why. When they say why, they will explain the
rationale,
the legal rationale, saying that we want to try and have this principle until the end, and we'll see. Maybe they will parse out what the judge said and say, well, we accept two of his arguments, but one of them we feel we must have a clarification. I don't know. We'll see. But again, I'm not giving them any good grades for the way this is being announced.
I think they just couldn't, for a moment, pretend that they were hesitant at all. They had to seem immediately firm. No, we're absolutely going. They couldn't have any impression of waffling on it. That's what I believe.
Well, they waited almost a couple of weeks just to get to this point, right? So it just strikes me as odd as it does all of us.
Odd.
I think that you come out and say, we're going to appeal and we'll let you know why later on. I don't understand that at all. That seems a ridiculous thing to have done.
I want to make this very clear that the Bill 40 debate, which is an important debate amongst our listeners now, is not an issue in French Quebec. Very few people heard of it. No one was asking, except Anglo reporters, what the status of the appeal was. So they're not pandering to Francophone voters. Francophone voters couldn't care less.
Huh.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course, they've lost their school boards to become service centers. Maybe they'll find out one day that was a bad decision too. But that aside,
but they supported that.
Yeah.
Francophones supported the idea that there was too few people voting and they were not efficient. So I'm not saying they were right, but they had a good political base in Francophone voters for the abolition of the school board.
Okay.
Not the case amongst Anglos.
But interesting, they try to use that same rationale for the English boards when, in fact, the English boards say that ought not to be the marker, if you will, for a decision to take away our governance, our self-governance.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly with that.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about the fact that it was a bad weekend for Justin Trudeau. He's still stuck in India as we speak. Meanwhile, it was a great weekend for Pierre Poilievre with the Conservative Convention. He's gaining speed pretty rapidly here, isn't he?
Can I ask how much of that? Did you actually watch the convention? A lot of us are kind of wondering if people really paid attention. Did you?
Well, I'm paid to watch.
So it's worth your while.
Okay, then. Fair enough.
I wish I were.
And I did watch both speeches of M. Poilievre and Anna, his wife, and I thought those were very good speeches. And what struck me is how fluent they were both in English and in French, even a small part in Spanish, and also how it was going well for him before the convention. The convention was a risk for him. And he sailed through the convention without a hitch, and just the polls are showing that the floor has just broken out under the Trudeau government in a very precipitous way, and just in the last 2 months. And Trudeau is in hot water. He's going to have a very tough caucus meeting starting tomorrow if he gets there. But for Poilievre, what I thought was interesting is that he had some self-deprecation and something that he never had before. And he said that in French. He said, who is this bloke who lost his glasses? It's just the first time
he said that in French?
In French.
Wow.
C'est qui ce bloke qui a perdu ses lunettes?
Wow.
And it was the first time that he was self-deprecating. He said, this is a winning thing. He must do more of that because he comes across as so self-important and sure of everything he says. That is an ingredient that can soften his image very much.
Interesting. C'est qui ce gars-là? It's so interesting that he would choose to do that in French and yet not necessarily try to do the same thing in English. What do you make of that?
Well, you should.
Yeah.
You should because, it's going well for him. He's more light than Trudeau. Now, that's a flip.
Oh, yeah.
In Quebec, he's toe-to-toe with Trudeau, which also is a flip. I think, and he's gaining liberal voters. He's not gaining bloc voters. He's gaining liberal voters. And he seems to have understood that in the way that he framed his approach to Quebec. So he was in Quebec City. He said, maybe not half, but a good chunk of the speech was in French. And he said nice things about the Québécois and the Francophones without promising anything new. And that was interesting. He said, I know about this song. So he's quoting this song about Mes aïeux des générations. I know about this or that, La Grande Nation Québécoise. And, so it was a love story to Quebec, no promises. And also a big, obvious omission is that he loves Quebec so much that he wants, and he said in English, we have to take a stock of the example that Quebec gives us. They're not afraid of affirming their language,
Right.
their values. So that was an anti-woke broadside. But he forgot to say, but nonetheless, I will ask the Supreme Court to invalidate the bill on French and the bill on secularism. But let's not talk about this today.
Well, for the little bit that he did, I guess you seem to be impressed with, as you said, with what you heard during the speeches. You don't wonder if that's going to sort of rub off on Quebecers. But I
wonder
will
if
point
that
out,
last statement, if that's where he loses them, though.
I will point out we're still a year and a half, 2 years away from an election. So maybe not count those chickens before they're hatched, or the eggs
but
anyway.
When you're a politician and it's going well, enjoy it,
Sure.
and try to stay the course as long as you can. So you can say the things that I've done in the last 2 months seem to be working, and softening my image. Stop talking about cryptocurrency and conspiracy theories about the Davos. This seems to be working, so let's stay the course.
Yeah, ride the wave. Monsieur Lisée, thank you so much. We'll talk to you again on Wednesday. Thanks again.
All right, bye-bye.
Jean-François Lisée, former PQ leader.